feel inspired, so I want to let it flow and inspire others. And it's funny how this stuff works out. When I saw that the theme of the day was going to be to use the talents you possess, I decided my speech topic would be the best version of you. It just so happened that that was integrated into Mark's introduction. It wasn't planned, but sometimes things fall into place. As we stepped outside this morning, it was a little bit cooler, and then Jeff got up here and talked to us about the changing of the seasons and the equinox. So anyhow, I'm excited to be here to talk to my fellow Toastmasters about being the best version of you, and I think that I can impart some wisdom, some of my own personal experiences and things I've done to not only talk to you about why to be the best version of you, but how to be the best version of you. And I'll start with a question that was posed, a speaker that I look up to and that I study, might be a word, Les Brown. He posed it to a big audience and said, if each and every one of us were able to go back, would we do things differently? Could we do things better? And I think that we'd all agree. Is there anyone here that thinks that they've lived their life absolutely perfectly to this point? I know I sure haven't. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about the why and the how of being the best you. And some of my personal experience will be tied in there. And obviously this is my opinion, but it's something that I think about quite often, and I think that all of us at one time or another think about this topic and how can I do this better in regards to all life, family, business, health, spirituality. And so first, the why aspect of it, and not to get too philosophical on everybody, but we have one shot. And why not? Why not be the best you? Spiritually, mentally, physically, as a father, as a husband, as a business person, why not be the very best you? Regardless of what your aspirations are in life, what you want to achieve. I think that if we all think about life and what we want to accomplish, there's another level that we can always strive to reach. And so another reason why, as I was thinking about this, was you not only owe it to yourself, but you owe it to the world. And that might be a big statement, but I've seen a lot of folks that are in the inspirational realm that give speeches, and I found it fascinating, I'll share it with you, that more often than not, you find these folks who didn't come from riches and from stardom and weren't born into success, but rather overcame something really negative. And if you start to look and you start to research, a lot of these folks that are really inspirational, that really have done a lot personally and that are sharing this message with others, they came from really negative circumstances, but decided one day, I can't do anything to change what's happened in the past, but I sure as heck can start today to change what's going to happen in the future. And one person that comes to mind is Dr. B.J. Davis. I was at a TEDx talk about 3 weeks ago, and this fella was a crack addict. He was a felon, and a lot of times the drug addiction leads to the criminal aspect. And so after being in prison for 10 years, his mom was dying. And he had this big revelation that I'm in this place, my mother who gave me everything, who did everything for me, I'm not there for her when she needs me most. And something clicked, and he decided, just like anybody else can decide, starting today I'm going to be the best me moving forward. And so when I talk about you owe it to the world, I thought to myself, how many lives, he's now started a rehab center, and he speaks to kids, and he does a bunch of positive stuff in the community, and how many lives is he going to touch over the next 30 years? He can't do anything about the past, all the damage he's caused, all the stuff that he has done in his past, but he sure as heck moving forward can be the best him he can be, and that's going to have a great impact on everyone around him. And so the other part of my speech I wanted to talk about was the how to be the best you can be. And there's things that I've personally done, and I'll be completely honest, since we're all friends here, this hasn't been something that I've thought about a lot before this year. And I know that Mark's been personal with us and said that it took him a while to realize his talents, his abilities, and really put the effort into making stuff happen. And so, in all honesty, this is something that's new to me and it's fresh to me, and I like sharing it because I've seen what an impact it's had for me in all aspects of my life, with family and with business and whatnot. And I think being the best you, it all starts in the same place, at least when I think about it, regardless of what it relates to, and I think that it's with personal development. And there was a great quote I heard from Hal Elrod, who spoke at an event I was at, that said, rarely will your level of personal success outgrow your level of personal development. And I believe that wholeheartedly because a discussion we had earlier where regardless of what you're doing in life and whether it's running a marathon or whether it's getting a promotion at work, a lot of the stuff you prepare for without even knowing what you're preparing for. And the first step in being the best version of you, you don't even have to know what it is your goals and aspirations and dreams are. You just become a better you, and it better prepares you for whatever role may come along. So a couple, I guess, pointers and things that I've done, which I'll share with you on becoming the best you. Something that I've done, and this is related to my health, but it works for business and it works for all other stuff, is I've done this little thing where I write something down and I hold myself accountable. And there's times where you've been a child and you don't want to let mom and dad down. And there's times that you've been in a relationship and you don't want to let your significant other down. I'm harder on myself, I think, than anybody else can be on me. And I hold myself accountable. And so this one was a small example, but I liked it because it started a conversation with my wife, and she said, "Why do you need to do that?" And I said, "I wrote it down and promised it to myself, and I'm not going to let myself down." So I'm sitting around on Sunday watching football, and I've had a long week. Part of my brain says, "You've worked really hard this week. Sit and watch football and just relax." The other part of my brain goes, "You can still become a better you. There's more you can do to become a better, healthier, stronger you." And so as I'm sitting there watching football, I just took out a piece of scratch paper and I wrote down 500 push-ups. I realized that's a lot after I wrote it down.
500. Oh my goodness.
And 8 miles. And I had started running about 4 to 6 weeks prior. I had ran 6 miles, so it wasn't like I just threw out 8 miles and it was some unattainable thing. I knew I could do it. And so as I'm sitting there watching football, I start doing sets of 20 push-ups. And it's funny how powerful the brain is when you tell yourself you're going to do something and just have your mind set. I knew 100% before I went to bed I'd do 500 push-ups and I'd run 8 miles. There was no doubt in my mind. After about 300 push-ups, I thought to myself, 500 push-ups is a lot of push-ups. But I got it done. And then 8:30 at night came along, and I told my wife, don't get worried, because 8 miles is going to take me about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I might not be home until 10 o'clock. But I promise you I'll be home. And I left my front door. I told myself I'd run 8 miles. I wasn't going for any speed records or any of that, but I knew it was possible, and I knew that I had told myself I was going to do it, and I did it. And this is a small example that just it's an illustration of what you can do when you put your mind to it. And I think that when you talk about the hows of being the best version of you, it starts with personal development. It starts with just getting it ingrained in your head that I know this is possible, I want to do it, I'm going to do it. And I ran into a fella, whenever I see somebody, "How's it going, Matt?" And I said, "Living the dream." And everyone always tells me like, "Oh, that's great." It kind of lifts them up. And I heard one recently and I thought, that's a really good one, because it relates to this quote that I really like. And I asked this fella, Irvin Jenkins, "How's it going, buddy?" He goes, "Well, I'm better than I was, but not as good as I'm gonna be." And I really like that because I've got a quote up in my office that says, "I'm not there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday." And I think that's all we can really ask of ourselves is you can't go from not running at all to running 8 miles. You can't go from being in Toastmasters a month to speaking at events and getting paid for it. But if you set small goals and you hold yourself accountable and you do it, you can become the best you, but all you can ask is that you're better than you were yesterday. And I saw another quote that said, the only person that you should compare yourself to today, the only person that you should try and be better than, is the person that you were yesterday. And so with that in mind, I encourage everybody to just try and be better than you were yesterday. Thanks.